In 12.6, on the original packet that I gave you, 12.6 says solve quadratic equations. It's really a review. It's really like review number 1. It reviews everything that you learned in 12.1, 12.2 through or 12.1 through 12.5, basically. So I am calling this like our review number 1. Next year, I am going to move this worksheet to the end so that you don't forget how to do this stuff. Because what we're going to do now that we give you this other half of the packet, you're going to learn this thing called vertex form. So you need to know the first half and the second half. Unit 12 is a little bit bigger for honors than it is for regular. In regular Math 2, we split it up into 2 groups. But in your class, we're putting it all together. A few things I need to let you know that we're writing down. You should know how to do everything because you've learned it in 12.1 through 12.5, so I'm not giving you any additional notes. But in problem 17C, it uses the words complex conjugate. Just in case that throws you off, make sure you know that that's the same thing as a conjugate from 12.4. So if you don't know what that means, look at your 12.4 notes and it will say how to deal with the conjugate. 20 through 21 solves to a decimal. Round these to the nearest hundredths place. It doesn't state that, so I wanted you to write that down as well. Let's do an example like number 20. The height of a triangle is 4x inches, and the base is 5x plus 1 inches. The height is 4x inches. The base is 5x plus 1 inches.
She said she'll come in after school to put it back in order because none of them are in order.
No worries. What are the dimensions of the base and the height? So we need to figure out what this x and the other one is.
She had reused because they cut her off on supplies this year, but she said if you have any inquiries,
That works.
just email her.
Okay, thank you. That works for now. So I have to use the given information that talks about area. It says that the area of the triangle is 500 square inches. So if I know anything about finding area of a triangle, I know that the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. They have told us what the area of the triangle is. Apparently they don't know that those doors are locked, right? Okay. Equals 1/2. What's the base here? The base is 5x plus 1. What's the height here? 4x. So if I want to figure out what x is, I'm going to have to do something with this equation. What I would recommend is I can do multiplication in any order I want. When you multiply something, this is multiply, multiply, multiply. If I want to do the half and the 4x, I can do that first if I want to. I can do half of 4x. What is half of 4x? So I'm going to put 2x right here. And then I'm going to multiply that product times the 5x plus 1. That just makes it a little easier for me because then I don't have to deal with that fraction anymore. Then what I'm going to do, because there's a plus sign, this 2x multiplies the 5x and the 1. It has to distribute to everything inside the parentheses. This makes 10x squared plus 2x. Now what I would do is I would subtract 500 and get 10x squared plus 2x minus 500 equals 0. And you have a lot of choices at this point. You can try to factor it if you want to. You can try to complete the square if you want to. You can try the quadratic formula. The two that I know for sure that will work are the quadratic formula and completing the square. But because it just depends. It depends what you like. You know what I mean? What do you want to deal with? Because if I were to divide by 10 and divide by 10 and divide by 10, if I were to try to complete the square here, I'd have to be dealing with a fraction. I'm pretty good at fractions, but I kind of feel like most of you won't go completing the square. Most of you probably will go into quadratic formula. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to do negative b plus or minus radical b squared minus 4 times a. 4 times a is 40. I'm just going to simplify that. Times c, which is negative 500, all over 2a. I'm going to put over 20. I'm going to get my calculator out at this point too. These numbers are going to get kind of big. I do multiplication first, negative times a negative. A lot of times I will just do that first to get that's a positive. 40 times 500, I believe, is 20,000, which it is. This is 20,000. Plus 4. Plus 4 is 20,004. Negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 20,004 over 20. A lot of times I will split it at this point. That way I know what to plug into my calculator, and I'll just do a line like this and a line like this. And earlier I asked you to round these to the nearest hundredths place. That's going to help when we do this square root of 20,004. I'm going to press the square root of 20,004. This comes out to about 141.44. I'm rounding that to the nearest hundredths place. So we have two possibilities. We have negative 2 divided by 20, negative 1/10, plus or minus, plus 144.44 over 20, negative 1/10 minus 141.44 divided by 20. So I have those two possibilities, and this is where your calculator will come into play. You're going to need to take that negative 1/10 and you add the 144.44 divided by 20, and then you subtract it as well. So just going to throw that here on my calculator. I have that answer right there. So I'm going to do this. Negative 1/10 promo. Hey, I am not using the cart during third at all, just seventh. Well, I'll test it in my room. Okay, so you want to test it over in your room? Okay, I in the gym. Okay. Okay. Yes. Sounds good. Thank you. Bye-bye. I'll have to redo these notes during seventh period today, I can already tell. Okay, so negative 1/10, negative 1 divided by 10, same thing, plus, and I already have This 144.4, I don't need to retype it. That's why I'm pressing the answer button. Divided by 20. So my first possibility, rounding to the nearest 100th place, is about 6.97. I'm going to do the same answer. Ooh, that won't, I don't know if that'll work. Let me do this again. Minus, delete, minus, Mr. Paramo, minus, delete, 141.44, which is about now I have my two possibilities. Let's go back and make sure I've answered this question, which I have not done yet. What are the dimensions of the base and the height of the triangle? What we found were possibilities of x. X could be this many. I don't know if we're measuring inches. Or this many inches. Does one of these answers not make sense? Can you have a negative distance? We ignore negative values of distance. Even though this is something that I found, it is called an extraneous solution. It's something that we got a solution, but it doesn't make sense in this context. Our distances have to be positive. That's something that we know mathematically to be true. This is what x could be, but that's not what the question is asking for. The question is asking for what are the dimensions of the base and the height of the triangle. So the height would be 4 times whatever we figured out. So if I'm working this problem, h equals 4 times the 6.97. If I want to know what the base is, it's got to be 5 times the 6.97 plus 1. So let's work those two things out. I have this answer. No, I do not. 6.97 times 4, 6.97 times 4 is about 27.88. 5 times 6.97 plus 1 is about 35.85 inches. And inches are my two answers.